Hello and welcome to the fifth episode of the We Play 2020 online series, inspiring girls in sport with proud support from Kinetica and Sport Ireland. Today's topic that we're going to tackle is New Normal, Same Goal. I'm Elaine Buckley from RT Sport, and I am joined by a stellar lineup of Irish sportswomen in boxes around me to do so. Golfer Leona Maguire, footballer Sarah Rowe, and sprinter Phil Healy. A very warm welcome to the three of you. First and foremost, guys, I think it's the most important question anyone could be asking the people around them at a time like this is how are you all keeping? Like we're 6 weeks into this now, 7 weeks, losing count. But I'll just go around to the three and just tell me how you're keeping and whereabouts you're currently locked down. Leona, we'll start with yourself.
I'm grand, I suppose. I'm at home in Cavan. Was getting ready to head back to the States before. I think we've had 12 events either postponed or cancelled right now, so didn't want to get stuck over there in a hotel or something like that. So I suppose Dad as well didn't want me heading back into that uncertainty, so decided to stay at home here in Cavan and was able to practice up until sort of the restrictions came in, and then just trying to make the most of it here at home until we're going back out again.
Okay, what about yourself, Phil? Whereabouts are you in the country?
So I'm in Wexford at the moment, and initially when all this began, I moved to Curracloe by the beach, just as a precaution before everything was locked down. Like Shane, my coach, was well ahead of it. Like even for us, we had World Indoor Championships. They were meant to be in China in the start of March, but they were cancelled back in January. So everything kind of kicked off for us earlier on. So Shane was well ahead of the whole thing. So even like when we were doing our national champs in February, he was like, look, this is potentially going to be your last race of the season, so enjoy it. So and then before it did kick off in Ireland, I moved to Curracloe, had a house there on my own next to the beach so that we could train on the beach, and there's a forest trails right next door, dunes and different things like that. I put a home gym in, and I had everything that I absolutely needed. And then the lockdown was clamped down further, obviously, then with the 2 kilometres. So I had planned to move into Shane's house anyway. So just when the 2 kilometre rule was inflicted, it made the move a little bit quicker. So I'm here now. His wife is a Montessori school right next door to the house, and that's converted into a gym for us, and mixture between the roads and grass. And I have a walk bike as well from our gym in WIT Arena. So I have everything that I need for the moment, and it's just about adapting. And like for us, everything has been cancelled. Right through the summer. There is a potential window of having our national championships in the first weekend of August, I think, but look, that may or may not go ahead. But again, it still gives us a target, and it's just about making the most of your new normal. And I can't even remember the last time I was on the track. Like, I'm just so used to this now. So it's just about getting on with it and making the most of it and use the time, I think.
And yourself, Sarah, how are things out in the West? You're back in Ballina after your season with Collingwood.
Yeah, I've been back now 6 weeks. So the first 2 weeks I was obviously in isolation. I was down in my uncle's house, which is about 200 meters from my house. So that was a bit weird, not really being able to see your family and all that. You're kind of just knocking on the door and standing about 10 foot away from them. So that was fun. And then just trained them 2 weeks and then moved back up into my own home house, which is just up the road. And we just put in like a home gym. We had some equipment, trap bar, deadlifts, things like that you just need to, basic things. And then the gym down the road is just like my local gym. He was like, you can come collect any equipment from the gym and bring it down to the house. So that was really nice fun. And I think some gyms are doing that and making sure that people can still continue on as is. But yeah, there's loads of things that you can do. Like, I suppose there's 1 or 2 things that you're like that, having a walk bike or something like that's great. Like, but probably not everyone has access to things like that. So it's important that you make use of what you do have, even if it's just a dumbbell. Like, there's so much things you can do. So, and like that, I'm just running and doing as much as I can in the gym and working on kind of, short and sharp things like speed sessions and things that you wouldn't get to do during the season, and working on your skills then with the football in hand. Feel like I'm a little child walking along the streets with the football in my hand. So it's been nice, like, to spend that time with your family and be able to cook nice food with them and just enjoy things as is. And I suppose you're not looking too far forward because you have no idea what's going to happen. So, and you also have no fear of missing out on anything because nothing's happening. So it's nice to try to stay present in the moment and just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, I suppose it's the most time that all three of you have probably spent where you are at the moment, Leona, particularly for yourself. I suppose starting the year, going off on the LPGA tour for the first time, and now finding yourself back in Cavan with all the events cancelled. The gym side of things is one thing, and it sounds like you all have a good setup in around you at home in that regard. But how are you keeping the eye in with the golf clubs?
Yeah, I mean, it's a radically different year than what we expected. Obviously, we got the event in Florida to kick off the season, then we had a month down in Australia. So that all went as planned, and we were supposed to go on an Asian swing then, doing China and Singapore and Thailand. But obviously that was all a wash, and now most of the US is a wash. As of right now, we're due to start mid-June. The US is fairly confident they're going to go ahead. I mean, who knows? So we really have to just be ready. If they give the green light, have to be ready to go. So yeah, just trying to keep my eye on it. I suppose I'm fortunate that I live in the countryside, so there's lots of sort of open air around us. We've a field out the back that I'm able to hit golf balls into, up to about a 7-iron for me, which is, I mean, it's not perfect, but it beats hitting balls into a net. You actually see the ball fly. It's a little bit realistic. Put inside, can chip and push, which is, I can pitch as well, which is nice, working on those wedges and stuff. So I suppose short game is a big part of golf. So it's just putting a bit extra time into that now, and then just fine tuning things. We actually get out on the course again, working with my coach Shane and on FaceTime, which we'd be doing anyway when I'd be on tour. It's a little different when he's an hour up the road and I still have to FaceTime him. But being able to just work on a few things that we wouldn't have had the time to do if I'd have been on tour back-to-back weeks. So yeah, just trying to make the most of it, really.
Have you a few willing volunteers at home to go collecting all those golf balls for you from the fields of Cavan?
No, that's on me, I'm afraid. The only thing has been my brother Oran's here as well, and he just hit them. Sometimes I'll go out and the bucket will be empty, so I'll have to go collect them myself before I get them. But I suppose that's the benefit of the good weather as well. They're not getting plugged into the ground as much as they usually would. So it's nice though. I have Lisa, my brother, here as well. I can play little competitions against as well, just to get that competitiveness in. That's the thing you miss the most about not playing all the time, is I can do the golf, but I miss the competitive aspect of it as well, having a card in your hand and actually competing for something.
Yeah, and I suppose it is finding yourself with all this time on your hands all of a sudden. Phil, how are you kind of managing, planning out your days, kind of scheduling your weeks? Would you be the kind to kind of block out training time, recovery time, downtime? How are you managing that side of it?
Absolutely, and no matter where I am, I think routine is a massive part of it, and even especially now, yes, I have I'm usually traveling, say 5-10 minutes drive to the gym or whatever, and now I'm just walking outside the door. So you can have that, oh, I'll go later on or whatever, but I would be very much right. I'm training at the same time every day, and just get that routine, and then you structure your whole day around it. And I am in my final year of my master's as well, so I do have my dissertation to finish. So that keeps me going as well. And I have the kids here in the house as well, and we do different things. And it's good to distract yourself that way. Obviously, I'm not at home and different things like that, but this is my normal, and this is what I get on with. So the days do seem to pass very quickly, and it's just about building the weeks back to back.
What about yourself, Sarah, and kind of, I suppose, finding that balance? I suppose you were probably brought home under quite sudden circumstances, having to leave Australia and come home. But finding that balance now of, making sure you're getting enough sleep, staying on top of the nutrition. We don't know what's going to happen with the ladies football championship. It's as up in the air as everything else. How are you finding striking that balance?
Yeah, I think like Phil said there, keeping a routine is so important, because you could start to say, oh yeah, I'll train in the evening, and then you might get nothing done. So I think with me as well, it's Sunday evening, I write down a kind of Monday to Friday plan, and then a kind of Saturday plan. Sunday is normally my day off. So I'd write down what time I train, what I'm going to do, and then in terms of nutrition, then we have Evan Regan, who's he's at the Mayo Men's as well. He's on board with us as a nutritionist, so he kind of keeps on top of us that way, and we kind of post pictures into our WhatsApp groups, and just hold people accountable that way, I suppose, and making sure that we're all just keeping good habits at this time, because it is a time where you have to enjoy it as well, and just take it as it comes. But it's strange that way. But I think we all kind of are just keeping on top of each other, so that's the main thing.
Sometimes you do just need a bit of chocolate in the evening though, and that's okay as well.
Oh, 100%.
I suppose looking bigger picture, so many high profile sporting events have been cancelled, and one which affects both Leona and Phil being the Olympic Games, which, we've had a couple of weeks to digest the news now, but it still just feels like quite a surreal thing that the Olympics have been postponed to next year. First and foremost, it's great that it is a postponement and not a cancellation, but now that you've had a couple of weeks to process it, Leona, we'll start with yourself. Where are you at with it now? I know your qualification wasn't going to be finalised until June, but that's extended now, as well as the games being postponed. How have you gotten your head around that now?
Yeah, I mean, I just trying to take it in as positive light as possible. I suppose it's an extra year to train, an extra year to prepare. Hopefully my game will be in even better shape next time around than it would have been this summer. Hopefully I'll have some more professional golf under my belt by then. Hopefully it's more events rather than fewer. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing that's completely out of our hands. I suppose for us the big thing was they paused the world rankings. So for those last few weeks, when everything was a little up in the air, there was some events happening in the US. The European Tour was still going. Some of the men's were still going. Some were cancelled. So they took the decision to pause the world rankings, which was a massive call. And those are the rankings that the Olympics are based on. I suppose the big question for us is, when the US starts back in, likely will be the first, are they going to start the rankings again when Europe is not going yet? So there is a lot of uncertainty, but we can only control what we can control, and just deal with it that way. For me, yeah, again, it's just another year there, and hopefully be even more ready than I was before.
Athletics have kind of gone the other route, Phil. They've just put a total pause on everything to keep the playing field level in that regard, in terms of qualification and world rankings. Is that right?
Yeah, and I think that's definitely the fair option. Like, everything is suspended and frozen till I think it's the end of December. It's December anyway, but it was a fair option. Like, we were meant to have European Championships at the end of August. They were only cancelled up to a couple of days ago. So, like, if they went ahead, that would give all European athletes more of an advantage, getting bonus points and different things like that in comparison to other athletes across the world. So it definitely was the fair option. But as an athlete, like, obviously you don't want things to be cancelled. It's out of our control, as Leona said, and it was the decision that needed to be made. But, like, for me, I think all athletes were kind of prepared for that final decision. It was only a matter of time before it actually came. So you had that little bit of mentally prepared for that final decision. But when it actually comes and you actually get the news that it is done, like, I woke up one day and I was like, what if I don't qualify the next time? Like, I don't want to be qualified for the Olympics that didn't happen. And it just gives you that urge then to push things on. And especially now, like, yes, the intensity is taken out of training, as in terms of we're not on the track or different things like that. But at the same time, it gives us a massive window of opportunity. Like, if you look across all sports, is there any time where you're not training for such a long period with the intensity? There probably isn't. So if you don't use that window of opportunity the right way, I think a lot of people are going to be on the back front come next season and, like, chasing their tail a little bit. So for me, yes, the intensity is taken out, but it is about getting up day to day, doing my training the exact same way with the same motivation, looking after recovery, diet the exact same way, because you don't want to let anything slip. And I will be a bit of a perfectionist in that kind of way. But in terms of, like, qualification and stuff like that, for us, I still hold my points from indoor season, which puts me in a great position going into next year. So it's literally everyone picks up from where they left off from March and kicks off again next year. So I will still be ranked in the exact same position going into next year. And it's just about maintaining that or pushing myself up the rankings further.
Yeah, and a great ranking that you had when everything came to a halt. But I suppose that's exactly it. A new date in the calendar to look towards, and it's brilliant that you'll still have your points on the board and your world ranking intact. Athletics and golf, obviously you have a team around you, but being individual sports predominantly. But Sarah, how are you finding the structure of a team sport just gone? I know you can keep in touch over WhatsApp, and that's brilliant, and you having Zoom with club mates and county mates, but has that been a big readjustment as well, to kind of not be coming back to a league season in full swing?
Yeah, well, I was obviously really looking forward to coming home and playing a bit of football, having not played any really. The last time I played was at my club in October, so I was just really looking forward to getting back to football in general and interacting with all the girls. And as you said, like, you catch up with people over the phone, but it's just not the same as the one-on-one contact. But like the girls said as well, like, I do think there is a huge window of opportunity here, and it is about who's going to utilize it the best at this time. So I think with the girls, and like everything, I'm like, this will pass. Like, while right now we can't see that and we don't really know when it's going to be, it will pass. But I'm just enjoying the kind of training and being able to push yourself as an individual, but also not having that pressure, because coming back off the back of the season, I suppose I'm essentially in off season, and I did probably need to take 2 weeks break and even a mental break. So I've really got that time to kind of adjust back into life in Ireland. So it's kind of worked out well in one way for me. But I am really looking forward to getting back and getting the girls around me, because I suppose you're only as good as your teammates. But it's different for the other girls and the side of us. But for us, I suppose we depend on our teammates so much to keep us uplifted. But of course, you have your own incentives and initiatives to try drive yourself as well and be better at certain things. So that's the things that I'm just working on at the moment, that them finer details, and hopefully then I'll be in a better place for my team, because I did find last year, coming straight back into the season, I essentially got off the plane and played a game 2 days later, and just I needed a bit of time, I needed a bit of rest. So I'm fortunate enough now that I've got that time.
And the LGFA were very clear with their decision making around, no, we're just cancelling the league. The players need to know that they can just have their downtime now and stay safe and not worry about training at a time like this. They'll probably make a similar clear-cut decision around championship whenever that arrives, because it's kind of difficult with the football, with team sports, to see how you can return to play. You could see it with golf, Leona, to a certain level, but social distancing in football, like, if you have Sarah Rowe in a number 14 jersey going up against the Dubs, like, Niamh Collins and Sinead Goldrick aren't going to be keeping their 2 meters distance from me, I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, it is different that way, but I suppose in Australia, when they tried to do that whole play behind closed doors and all that, it was fine. It was weird, like, you're like high-fiving people with your elbow or whatever. It was just like, we all had our own water bottles, we weren't allowed to touch each other in the warm-up, we weren't allowed to be in a huddle, like, there was loads of things that we couldn't do. But essentially then we were going out onto the field and tackling each other, so it made no sense really. What we were trying to implement things in our warm-up, but then we're doing the exact opposite in the game. As you said, like, a player's not going to stand back if it's between you and them to win the ball. So it's hard to see how they would work it. I know there's a few things up in the air at the moment, but I do think what the LGFA have done by making a clear decision is really important for athletes, just to have a decision and be able to work around their goals that way, because otherwise you're just like, you're working towards kind of, like maybe a 2 week, 4 week block, and then you're told it's going to be 6 weeks, and then you get to the 6 week marks and you're told it's going to be 12 weeks. So I think your decision is the best thing. Just make a decision, and if it is called the season off, grant, let people know, and people will move on then.
So much beyond sport has come to a halt as well. And Phil, yourself, I know you're doing a master's down in WIT, but how has education changed for you? I suppose not attending lectures, not having to go into the actual building. How have you adapted to that?
Yeah, so for me, lucky enough, like, I have split my master's over 3 years, so I really have drawn it out. But for me, this semester it was just about my dissertation, so I would only have to go into college as it was from January on to meet my supervisor. So we've just created those meetings over email, but obviously for other students it is online. But lucky enough, in WIT with my master's, say for previous modules, some of them would have been online, because we would have a lot of American students joining the masters as well. So they were set up for that, and I would have been, say, if I did have to do modules online, I would have been used to it from previous, where we would have logged on and done our lectures with the lecturer live. But it isn't the same. Like, you obviously prefer going into a classroom, and there is that bit more interaction and different things like that, and just a different learning environment. But look, you just have to get on with it. You just have to adapt. It becomes your new normal. You don't have any other choice. And just like in the sporting side of things, the academic is the same. You just have to make the most of it. And obviously exams and stuff like that, I didn't have any for this semester, but they obviously have changed, and they've gone to online assessments and things like that. So it does change the whole element of it. But I suppose there's nothing that can be done about it.
I know, I really feel for any teenagers who are doing Leaving Cert and Junior Cert this summer, or who are supposed to be this summer, because it's something that's been building up for so long, and then all of a sudden it's up in the air. And Leona, your younger brother, I believe, is studying for the Leaving Cert, so you've kind of seen an insight into how it's affecting the younger generation, I suppose. How are you coping, and how's he coping, and based on what you've seen, is there any words of wisdom you could share?
Yeah, I mean, I don't envy him at all. To be honest, but every time there's an announcement, I've never heard him telling Dad to put on the news before. And now he's just every day kind of wondering what's going on. He's supposed to go to college in the States in August, so that's obviously out the window now. He won't be able to go in August, given that the Leaving Cert now is probably only going to be in August or whenever it is. So yeah, he's frustrated to say the least, but to be fair to him, he's working away. I have to give him a lot of credit on that, and I wouldn't like to be in his shoes. So for me, going out to the gym and going out to hit my balls in the back garden, it seems a little easier. I definitely wouldn't want to switch places with him. So I mean, for him, it's like a routine, like what I'm doing. I get up in the morning, I go do my gym work. He gets up and he does his maths or his chemistry or whatever it is. So yeah, it's just a case of just putting those hours in and controlling what you can control. He has no control over when the Leaving Cert is and what comes up. Like, we have no control over what our events are going to be. So yeah, he's managing as best he can, and we're trying to keep him as sane and as positive as he can as well.
I suppose it is just affecting everyone in such unique ways. And another thing, just love to get your opinion on this. A lot of younger girls will be sitting at home now with a lot of time on their hands, more time that they've had on their hands in years. And it's whereas social media is brilliant because it keeps us connected to the people we love and our friends and our family, but it can also be quite dangerous at a time like this as well, and you can just fall into a hole of just like really upping your screen time and constant scrolling. I suppose, what advice would you have to younger girls who are all of a sudden just spending an increased amount of time on social media and maybe turning to negative influences and absorbing what they're putting out there?
Yeah, I think like social media, like for me anyway, in this like period of time, like I want to get away from social media in terms of it, because like it just, not like it became a toxic place, but like it was just the same things posted over and over. Like, we know that coronavirus was there, we know that everyone is in isolation, like, so everyone was just posting the exact same thing, and I think it just brought the mood down for everyone. And there wasn't a lot of, it was more negative stuff. Like, you were just scrolling and it's just like, especially Twitter, everything was pretty much negative. So like even on Instagram, like athletes are posting that they're doing their home workouts and different things like that. We all know everyone's at home. We all know everyone is adapting in different ways. You know, like it just became very repetitive. And I think a lot of people that don't have the equipment and things like that are like, oh, look at this person is doing this and I can't do this. So I think it became a bit more negative. I unfollowed more people than I followed definitely during this period, because I just didn't enjoy seeing the same thing. And even like posting myself, I'm like, I'm not putting up that because I know everyone is in the same position. So like, why am I boasting about I'm training here when other people may not have those facilities and different things like that? So I definitely think like, yes, everyone has a lot more free time in their house, and they can't do different things like that they would have usually done. So just instead of like scrolling and getting involved in those different kind of things, or comparing yourself to other people and looking at home workouts, and like a lot comes down to body image as well. Like people are like, they could be like girls out there and they're doing their workouts in like a crop top and like skimpy shorts, and like you're comparing yourself to different people like that, and it can be negative, and especially if you have less people around you, you're more in your own thoughts. But even for us as a training group, like we would have a quiz every Friday night, like, and we are apart because we're obviously not together training together, so we just keep that team element together. And like I would have Zooms and different things with my friends as well, so I think it just distract yourself in different ways instead of like constantly scrolling through social media and different things like that. And if it's the best option for you to delete the app, 100% recommend, but you just control what you want to see, and don't get involved in different posts and different things like that, because obviously everyone's moods can be up and down at this point. But it's just better to just take a step back, enjoy your own things, and just distract yourself in different ways by positive influences and different things like that.
Yeah, sound advice. And I think on following, sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think for me as well, something I've done anyway is like I've turned off my notifications on my phone at the moment. So it's like, you know, when you look at your phone and you have 100 messages and so many Snapchats or whatever, and you're kind of like, oh, and you're in a conversation with, say, your family or something, and you're not really concentrating on what your family are saying because you see that there's so many messages coming in. So for me, I'm like, if I don't see them, I don't know they're there. So until I go and designate time to go on my phone, I'll get back to them people. Like, because really, no one's really in a rush at the moment to get back to people. So, and I don't think people really mind either if you don't get back to them straight away. So what I do is turn off my notifications, and then I click into my WhatsApp or whatever, and I might have 100 messages from different groups and stuff, but at least it's my decision to kind of have a read through them and take time and get back to people at that moment in time. And I think then with Instagram as well, yeah, like that, like you said, everything, you know, you choose what you follow, and comparison is the thief of joy. So I think when I was over in Australia, I did a lot. I started studying when I was over there. I started studying hypnosis and NLP. NLP is like neuro-linguistic programming, so it's just all about like the things that we take into our brain, basically in our subconscious mind, and the amount of stuff that we see every day that we take into our brains, and a lot of it registers as negative. So it's important that whatever we're seeing, especially on our phone, is in some way a positive influence, or else that we can channel it in some way and know what it's about to be able to see through it. And so just to be, I suppose, aware of the way your mind works and stuff. So I've always been very interested in that and mindset with athletes, because I think we're all always trying to get an edge on people, not even get an edge on people, but be able to figure out how we can get the best out of ourselves and, you know, be the most confident version of yourself as well. So I think that's really helped me. But there is one thing I will say about social media. I was thinking about the other day when I saw the Do It For Dan thing on Twitter, and I was like, if coronavirus didn't happen, that money probably would have never been raised, because there wouldn't have been such a push, and people wouldn't have had as much time to do the challenges and all that things, and people wouldn't probably be on their phone as much. So while there is, you know, a lot of negatives to it as well, like that is massive, like huge positive. And like there's charities out there that are fundraising and doing a challenge at the moment for Elaine, and just anything like that as well. So in that sense, it's been massive, but in another way, it just depends on what you're seeing and what you're looking at, obviously.
What's the challenge, Sarah? How many push-ups are you on?
I've done basically 120 press-ups every day this month. So I kind of split them up. I normally like incorporate some of them into my gym session and do like say 60 or 80, and then I come back to them in the evening and do a few. Some days I bang them all out and just take a rest in between. But yeah, it's been fine. It's been good, and I'm just happy to help out in whatever way I can, I suppose.
And you're trying to hit the target of 3,000 push-ups.
Yeah, nearly there.
Good going. Leona, what about yourself? How are you doing with social media at a time like this? Are you tuning out, or are you kind of filtering what you're taking in and keep the influences positive?
I suppose one of the probably more positive things I've seen sort of out of all of this is people are kind of going back to basics. I suppose you'd always hear from parents about that they can't get their kids off phones or iPads or whatever it is, and now, even though people are videoing it, there's a lot more people out in their back gardens playing on slides or swings, or if it's kicking a ball against a wall or or chipping balls into a bucket in their back garden. At least there's more of an emphasis on getting outside and being active. Some of them are doing watching, is it Joe Wicks or whatever in the morning, or different sort of home workouts and stuff. So there's definitely more of an emphasis, I'd say, on sort of being active and healthy in that. And I suppose probably one of those things you don't really realize you have it until you can't do it. So that's probably one of the more positive things I've seen out of it. Definitely, I mean, in the first few weeks when we were sort of on lockdown or events were getting cancelled or not, I was definitely probably guilty of checking Twitter and checking different things, messaging people over and back in the States, what's happening over there, different states. I have friends like in California, Florida, what's going on there, and I suppose in the last few weeks just kind of muted a lot of WhatsApp groups that messages were getting like forward, and that only sort of adds to anxiety and stuff. And kind of building off what Phil was saying, I watched a video from The Rock the other day, and he was saying how a lot of people were asking him to post his home workouts. Obviously, he's got an incredible gym and whatever at his house, and he said he wouldn't. He said it wasn't fair to the people that couldn't do it, and he didn't want to make people feel bad. And I thought that was quite considerate of him. Instead of just people, I suppose there's this kind of perception of people want to see what these big celebrities' houses are like and what they're doing, and it's just not realistic for the normal person. And it also is a little dangerous. Some people are making like makeshift gyms for themselves. I know that was one of the things they warned us in the Sports Institute not to do, not to try and make gym equipment that could break and hurt yourself and stuff like that. It's just a case of making the most of what you have. And for us here in the evenings, it's taking out the board games, playing cards, doing some quizzes, stuff like that. That I suppose it's nearly going back to like the few days after Christmas, where we're sort of sitting around and you're doing all that sort of stuff. And I mean, our house is pretty competitive. We don't need screens like that. And yeah, it's just a case of enjoying those little things. I think a little bit more. You really just appreciate it now when there's no real clock on anything, and you're just sort of enjoying
your own use of social media, Leona. I think for about 3 nights there back at the start of April, Leona put up these quizzes on her Twitter, which was the names of sportswomen in emojis. And I'm not lying, because you talk about competitive streaks. She had every sports journalists on Twitter fighting with each other, or trying to guess these lists of sportswomen. They're still there, and I don't think you put up the answers. So if you want to go check them out, there's a good few hours of fun there trying to figure them out. Who won 2 of the nights, Leona, just out of interest? Was it me?
Sports journalist.
We'll just put that on the record there. Yeah, it was me. Two out of 3 nights I beat Jackie in a van. So just putting that out there.
Hard. I'm not like a visual learner or something. I'd say I got 5 of them. I was that bad at them.
It's yourself.
Yeah, it's tough.
I got myself. I saw the wrong boat.
But no, it was brilliant, and a good way to just get people talking about sportswomen, because I suppose another concern to add to the growing list of concerns that we have at the moment, as if it's not enough. When we think about a return to sport down the line, now the 3E are all such brilliant ambassadors for sportswomen and involved in the 20x20 campaign and stuff like that. Is this going to be damaging in the long term, do you think, or when we get back to sport, do you think we'll all just have an even bigger appreciation for live sport, and could it potentially strengthen women's sport in the long run?
Going back to the quiz, even someone made the comment to me that before the 20x20 campaign, people maybe wouldn't have recognised some of the names on that list, and it shows it has done a great job at sort of getting that visibility, and people are just going to tune into sports. It doesn't matter what it is, and you're sort of going to have that captive audience. People have that appetite for sport, and they're really going to want to see it, and I suppose appreciate the skill for what it is. I think people are going to probably cut the sports people a little bit more slack, knowing that they've kind of been in lockdown as well. And who knows, maybe the skill might be even higher, that people have had more of a chance to work on things. But I don't think it's going to damage sort of the 20x20 movement in any way. I think social media has obviously been a big thing over the last while, people doing challenges. I've seen one of the fun things for me, seeing people out in their back gardens and little boys and girls competing against each other in their back gardens, and kids don't really see the difference in that. They're just playing against their brothers and sisters trying to win. So I think it will. It's just a case of when, if and when it picks up. I know Roger Federer the other day called for the tennis tours to be merged, and it'll be interesting to see if something like that happens. If out of all this, which it'd be a huge positive for tennis, and who knows what other sports could follow suit.
Yeah, and Phil, it's hard for everyone to find the motivation, I suppose. But looking bigger picture, for younger girls at home who might be used to training with a team or going down to their athletics club and going running and are just finding it hard to keep ticking over. But exercise is just such a good outlet for people at the moment, even if it's by yourself at the moment. Would you agree?
Massively, and like as you can see, even with all those challenges, like they're absolutely a super initiative to like get people running 5Ks, or even if they didn't do the 5K, just to get active, get out, things that they may not necessarily have done before, and now they have more time to do it, or even picking up gym equipment from different places, or as you see, Lidl and Aldi have a lot more stuff, and people are just getting more involved. And there is initiatives out there for like children for like 1Ks and just post your time, and they get medals and stuff sent to them, which I think is super, and it encourages them to get active. And again, like even from my own perspective, like there was a girl that sent me a letter a few weeks back, and we were going to invite her down to training with her group of friends, but obviously that couldn't go ahead. So I did a Zoom call with her instead, and like I had free time, so I wanted to offer my free time up and let her and her sister ask as many questions as they wanted, and that just helps like other people and to inspire them. Or I did one with an athletic club as well in Kildare, and like I have the free time, so I'm not just going to sit around and waste mine, and just offer to see if it could help anyone. But yeah, like across all ages, it's definitely so important to just get out, get active, and like it just clears your head. Like everyone is inside. There's only so much inside you can do, and obviously within the guidelines and staying safe and different things like that, to obey them. But I think it will definitely encourage a lot more people into like embracing the outdoors. And even like when I was in Curracloe, the beach was absolutely packed, and it was like people found outdoors for the first time. It was busier than a summer's day. So like I think it is great that it is encouraging like families to like do more things together, get active together, entertaining kids and different things like that. And hopefully it will continue on, and it's not just a phase. But even going back to your point of encouraging, like say the women in sport, and even something like this, people like say if this was held in the National Indoor Arena, not as many people may have come on as clicking onto this online. Everyone is online and they see different things. Like so, I think it's a super event to have it online, and encourage a lot more people to see so many different sports stars across so many different sports, and just get their insight and how everyone is dealing. And hopefully that will inspire them in some ways, and that they can follow suit, and like even just create more interest in terms of their sport and different things like that.
And Sarah, I suppose one thing we've all really come back to as an important outlet is the humble walk. Like just going out for a walk is a great way of getting active on a daily basis, and it's kind of something that getting active for younger girls doesn't have to mean at the moment, doing a crazy gym session and sprinting up hills. It can be as simple as just going off yourself for half an hour to clear the head and go for a long walk.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say I go for about 2 or 3 walks a day now at the moment, just because I suppose if you keep locked up in the house, you would go crazy that way. So, even I see someone like my mom who like would have been just like, no, I won't go for a walk now today, lovey. And I'd be like, come on now, you've no excuse now. Absolutely no, you couldn't be busy at the moment. So now she's got and she's going walking every day, and she's like, I feel so good. Like I can't believe I haven't done this all my life, kind of thing. So like people like that, it is, you see a massive improvement in that. And just all my family, even I suppose my granny now at the moment, she's like locked up, but she's dying to get out for a walk. And people like that, it is important, and it is a part of our daily life, and it should really, as I said, we should all be exercising for about a half an hour a day, but it doesn't need to be anything strenuous. I think a walk is just perfectly fine for anyone. So yeah, hopefully the habits stick, and but it's been a long enough time now that hopefully it will have.
Good stuff. Well, I have one last very important question for the three before I let you go. Leona, we'll start with you. What are you watching on Netflix tonight now?
Well, I have 2 episodes of Michael Jordan's Last Dance to watch, so maybe one of them. I did make my way through Tiger King, so that's already gone. But surprisingly, I haven't watched as much Netflix as I thought I would. It has been very little TV in the house so far, so trying to make sure there's still some left there when I do start traveling again.
What about yourself, Phil?
I'm the exact same as Leona. I have those 2 episodes of The Last Dance, and then I was a bit late to the game with Tiger King, so I have a few left there.
Sarah?
I'm going to say I'm the worst person ever in the world to sit down and watch TV. I haven't started anything. I barely watch it. I sit there and chat and distract everyone else around me who's trying to watch TV. That's my job. I'm that annoying person.
I suppose by the time you get your 3 walks a day in, it's probably late at night by the time you get all that done. Well, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there, as by the sounds of it, Sarah has to go out for a walk, and Leona and Phil have a lot of busy training regimes to do at home. Big thanks to Leona, Sarah, and Phil for their time and insights. And if you enjoyed this chat, make sure to check out the Swim Ireland YouTube channel for more good conversations as part of the We Play 2020 online series. Thanks for joining us, and stay safe.